And so, as the seasons changed and the wind carried with it the echo of ancient legends, life in San Pietro della Valle continued to be intertwined with mystery. After those first days of amazement and wonder, the village began to discover that the light that had enveloped Mariana was not an isolated case, but the beginning of a journey that would reveal countless secrets. In the months that followed, the cobbled streets of San Pietro came alive with new stories. Every house, every square became the scene of inexplicable and, at the same time, comforting events. Signora Caterina, known for her frank character and her love of good coffee, began to notice that, in the early hours of the morning, the scent of fresh flowers gently insinuated itself into the courtyards of the houses. "It's as if the earth itself wanted to embrace us," she said, her eyes shining with a new light, almost waiting for a secret to reveal. In the heart of the city, the small bookstore of Gabriel, a man of few words but immense wisdom, became a meeting point for those who sought to understand the meaning of that strange rebirth. Among dusty shelves, forgotten manuscripts and diaries of travelers who, centuries before, had crossed those places in search of truth and answers could be found. Gabriel, with the patience of an old master, organized evenings of reading and debate, in which they discussed ancient myths and how faith could transform into a universal language. "Knowledge," he said, "is like a flowing river, sometimes calm, sometimes impetuous, but always capable of bringing new life." Mariana, meanwhile, found herself increasingly torn between the world of dreams and that of reality. Every night, the apparitions of the Madonna revealed cryptic details to her, hidden places, forgotten symbols, whispered words that seemed to belong to an ancient and almost magical language. One of these nights, during a particularly vivid dream, the celestial figure showed her a secret map of the territory, dotted with mysterious symbols and paths that led to hidden water wells and enchanted woods. Upon awakening, with her heart still shaken by emotion, she decided to write down every detail, convinced that the map could be the key to understanding the divine plan that embraced the village. Mariana's journey led her to cross paths with Enrico, a young craftsman with a troubled past who had left his hometown in search of a new beginning. Enrico, with his hands marked by work and his gaze full of silent hopes, found in Mariana not only a spiritual guide, but also a traveling companion, with whom he could share the joys and difficulties of a search that went far beyond the surface of everyday life. Together, they ventured into the surrounding countryside, exploring ancient paths and discovering small truths hidden in every flower and every stone. During these walks, Enrico told stories of craftsmen from the past, of those who had been able to transform wood and stone into works of art, finding in each creation a metaphor for human rebirth. But there were shadows in this path of light. Some inhabitants, though fascinated by the miracles, were suspicious of Mariana's growing influence and the power of visions. Old Fabrizio, with his gruff air and determined manner, did not accept that the past could be rewritten through signs and omens. "Faith," he retorted with a firm tone, "is a matter of the heart, not of fantasies. We cannot allow beliefs to confuse the mind in daily work." However, as time passed, Fabrizio also began to observe the small miracles more carefully, the way in which the scars of time seemed to fill, the warmth that radiated from a sincere embrace, the comfort of an unexpected smile. And, although he was reluctant to admit it openly, deep in his soul there was a hope that perhaps, just perhaps, fate had reserved a different path for them. Meanwhile, the parish priest Don Luigi, the mediator between the divine and the human, found new life in the evening discussions. His homilies, previously rigid and traditional, were now colored with anecdotes and reflections that drew not only from the Bible, but also from the life stories of his parishioners. On one of these evenings, during a particularly intense service, he told of how, during a winter's night, the church bells had rung for no apparent reason, and how, at sunrise, the frost had transformed into a shower of crystals of light. The divine, he exclaimed fervently, is not only manifested in flashy miracles, but also in small daily gestures that make us understand how precious life is. The parish priest's words had a profound effect. Men and women realized that, in that tumult of events, every soul could become a bearer of light. Over time, the village schools became centers of holistic learning. Inspired by recent events, teachers introduced workshops where children could express their feelings and intuitions through art and writing. One afternoon, during an outdoor workshop, the children drew symbols and signs, creating a huge mural that told, in their own way, the story of rebirth. That mural became a tangible symbol of transformation, an invitation to look beyond the visible, to seek beauty even in the most difficult moments. The transformation of the village did not go unnoticed even by those most distant. Contacts with other realities, such as the small Sicilian village and the vibrant Mexican town, intensified. Pilgrims who came from far away were welcomed with warmth, finding in San Pietro della Valle not only a place of faith, but also a community ready to share their experiences and traditions. Each visit brought with it new stories, an Andalusian lady who told of how, during the processions, the stars seemed to fall like rain of hope, or an elderly Mexican who, with a trembling voice, spoke of the healing power of music and colors in popular celebrations. In this fervor of cultural exchanges, Mariana became a sort of ambassador, a guide who helped decipher the symbols of destiny. She met artists, sculptors and poets who were inspired by her visions, and together they organized festivals that combined music, painting, and theater. During one of these events, on the stage set up in the central square, a young singer-songwriter composed a song that spoke of rebirth, hope, and that invisible thread that united every living being. The melody, simple and touching, immediately became a hymn for the community, an indelible reminder of the ability of art to transform pain into beauty. Alongside these celebrations, concrete projects were undertaken to renew the village. The old houses were carefully restored, using traditional techniques but integrated with innovations that reflected the new collective vision. There was talk of living houses, structures in which every stone and every piece of wood told a story of rebirth. Local craftsmen, guided by the enthusiasm of this new era, devised architectural solutions that combined the ancient with the modern, windows that let in an almost surreal light, flower-filled balconies that seemed suspended between dream and reality, and courtyards where time seemed to slow down to allow every breath to be lived intensely. In one of these restored houses, during a summer evening, a party was held that remained etched in everyone's memory. Between songs, improvised dances, and stories that intertwined like golden threads, the inhabitants celebrated not only the rebirth of their territory, but also the discovery that, in every corner of the world, light can triumph. That night, under a sky studded with stars, Mariana and Enrico exchanged a knowing smile, aware of having opened a door to a future full of possibilities, where mystery and reality could coexist in a sincere embrace. Time passed, and San Pietro della Valle became a symbol of hope and renewal. The stories of miracles and visions merged with local traditions, creating a narrative fabric that spanned generations. Young people grew up with the memory of evenings spent listening to village legends, while older people found comfort in seeing that faith, far from being static, was a path in constant evolution. Every morning, at sunrise, the village seemed to breathe a new air, an air filled with promises and secrets to be discovered. And so, in that era of transformation, the mystery was no longer a threat, but an open door to infinity. The words of the Madonna, whispered in the nights of dreams, had found an echo in the hearts of those who had learned to see beyond the veil of appearance. Life, with all its nuances, had become a collective adventure, a shared journey in which each soul could rediscover its own inner light. And it is precisely in this spirit of renewed trust that the village of San Pietro della Valle prepared to write new chapters, to weave new legends and to celebrate, every day, the miracle of life. As time passed, the story of San Pietro della Valle in Mariana spread far beyond the borders of the village. People from everywhere came to witness those small signs of hope, to seek the truth in that combination of faith, art, and tradition. And each visit, each story, further enriched the mosaic of experiences that made the village unique.